Right, but Mick, thank you. Here we are in April, and perhaps if you want to, you say your date of birth.
1136.
Oh, 11, right, okay.
Yeah, 1136.
Now, I know you're a Gloucester man, Mick, and these questions are about Rodborough, but by all means, wander from the point of the question. So the first question is, what is your first connection to Rodborough? So if you want to talk about anything before you end up in Rodborough, then by all means.
Yeah. Well, my first connection with Rodborough was my mother-in-law, who owned the Victoria in Gloucester Street, bought next door. And then there was this plot of ground here, and my wife wanted to come here to live next door to her mother. So we've got planning permission through a man. He was a dentist in Stroud, a very well-known character. Can't quite think of his name now.
It'll come later.
Tommy John. Sorry, Tommy John.
Well remembered. Okay, so when was that?
That was, I can't give the date, that was 46 years ago.
Okay, so 1963?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Right. So in fact, your house went up in just after, I presume, the bad winter.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and anything you want to say about your life before you moved to Rodborough?
Well, quite a bit. I'm a Gloucester. I was born in Clarence Street in Gloucester, and I lived in the White City when I was born, and I was born in Reservoir Road, which was opposite the Gloucestershire Army Barracks in those days. And then my first job was at Barnes, the Rover people in Longster Street. Then I went to Stretton's Garage, which is in Worcester Street, owned by the late Wycliffe Motor Company. And then I went into the army in 1949. That was right, 49. I went into the Grenadier Guards, and I spent nearly 4 years, and most of my time was spent in Portside and Tripoli, driving Major General Moore. I was batman to him.
Oh, right.
And then when I came out of the forces after that, I worked in the post office as a mechanic in George Street, which was a GPO, and then we moved to Hempstead Bridge, and then my youngest sister, who's now passed away, worked at Boots in Eastgate Street in Gloucester, and I met the Dangerfields, which owned the Victoria and had all his business. Met my wife at Boots Chemist there, Margaret Ella Ashton Dangerfield her name was, and about 7 months later we were married at Moore Court Hotel, which is not now existing up there, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And then I left that job, and I came in to work for my father-in-law, who owned the Victoria, which had been in the family for over 200 years.
Wow.
And then from there I proceeded to work for the transport as I was a mechanic for Dangerfields. And then when my father-in-law died, we branched out onto my wife and myself, and we traded under Dangerfield's Transport Dangerfield Removals. Then after that I bought the section out, and we traded under M&M Jennings, which the vehicles were parked out here. But in the meanwhile, when we first got married, we lived next door to Laurie Lee.
Oh, right.
In Slad. And we were going to stop there for 12 weeks, and we stopped there for 12 years. And my father-in-law bought the cottages in the Slad there, and it was a deal with Miss Nancy Tilley, who was a teacher at the girls' high school, and it was involving 2 cars and some cash for the 5 houses. And then I came here, as I said, we had the place built here, and then, I've been here at Rodborough ever since.
Amazing story, brilliant.
Yeah.
I was once commissioned to write a play about Laurie Lee. What was he like? Some people said he was a nice, jolly fellow, and some people...
Well, I worked as I probably had I had a removal business around here for nearly 30 years. Okay, well, on my own.
Yeah.
And I worked for Laurie Lee and Kathy, and Laurie Lee had a flat in 49 Elm Park Gardens in London.
Yeah.
And he would get me. He was a man that he could never really make his mind up what he wanted doing. Mm-hmm. He'd move from one flat to another, and a little incident I can tell you that everything had to be just put back as he wanted it.
Right.
His addresses on the tables. And one afternoon, my 3 men were just about up our teeth into it, and Laurie said, "Oh, Mick, there's one of my addresses missing off the table. It's very urgent." I said to Laurie, "Well, Laurie, don't panic." I said, "Now sit down," I said, "and we'll go through it." "Oh, one of your men have lost it." I said, "Laurie, before we go any further, we'll start from your top pocket, we'll work down," and there it was on the inside of his pocket.
Right, okay.
And Laurie would turn round and he wouldn't even apologise.
Right.
And getting money out of Laurie Lee was another 18-month-old problem.
Right.
And Kathy used to say to me, "Mick, I'm sorry, but when Lar," that's what she called him, Lar, turned round, he's in a good mood, I'll ask him for a cheque.
Right.
I said, "Well, you don't want to be too long, Kathy, because," I said, "we're all going to go bankrupt."
Right. So, right, okay, good stories. So, what was the when your house went up? What was the land here? Was it just pasture?
No, this was an orchard here.
This was an orchard.
Yes, sure, yeah. And also, for years and years, where Mr. Spicer lives, who lives next door to you, the poor gentleman's just got into a home now, but he kept his car next door, but there was only ever 2 cars in Coronation Road.
Crikey. Right.
That was one and Tom Spicer's, and there was no other car in. Where you find all the cars now, as you possibly know, are from Spillman's Road, Field Road, and other areas around here.
Yeah, only 2 cars. Is it true that in the 60s, a Bristol bus would go up King's Road and up here in Queen's Road?
Who's this?
Somebody said that the buses used to go up here.
I wouldn't know. No, that is. I think you'll find that's definitely